From my next guest. Sometimes you have to titillate, shock, and annoy people in order to call attention to an emerging social issue, as even surprising facts are rarely enough to get people to change their habits. That is Ingrid Newkirk. She, 35 years ago, founded PETA, the organization that has sometimes found itself in very thick situations with crowds, with law enforcement, all to protect animals and animal rights. She is on the line with us. Hello, Ingrid. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I know you are speaking in under an hour at McNamara Alumni Center at the University of Minnesota campus. So thank you for taking this time. What were your thoughts 35 years ago when you decided to found this organization?
Well, they were very simple, actually. I had grown up, like many people, caring about animals, thinking that cruelty to animals was nothing I wanted to have a part in. But I think I, like most people, had a compartmentalized view, certainly back then, is that I didn't know any vegetarians. I'd never thought about the dairy industry. I had a fur coat. I went fishing, but I didn't think that cruelty to animals was right. I just thought that cruelty to animals meant, starving a horse or kicking a dog or setting fire to a cat's tail or something. It didn't occur to me that it wasn't good enough to just give a little donation to the local humane society, stop those kinds of things, when I was actually spending what would amount to thousands of dollars a year on clothes that were made from animals that didn't give up that fur or that leather or that wool voluntarily, and buying foods that came from the slaughterhouse. So all sorts of things I bought. My shampoo was tested in rabbits' eyes. Didn't occur to me at all. I had a couple of revelations. I saw some things, including a little pig abandoned on a farm, and a raccoon caught in a trap. And those two things were part of what made me think deeper about how animals are treated. And I thought, well, if I have been oblivious to this, it might be useful to form a group and then not only show people what goes on behind the scenes that the people who are selling you things don't want you necessarily to think about or see, but also show you what you can buy so that your life, your funds, your ethics are in sync with your belief that you don't want to be cruel to animals.
I'm talking with Ingrid Newkirk. She is the founder of PETA. 35 years ago, she co-founded this organization, now more than 3 million members and supporters worldwide. And indeed, Ingrid, many more than 3 million who know of you and know of your work. Certain things, pulling a horse carriage through the streets of Mumbai. You have been lying naked in a coffin in New York Times. These, to some people, might sound like stunts. Why did you go to these kind of lengths for your cause?
Well, they are stunts. Unfortunately, being in the media, that if you tune into the news, it's all about conflict. People are looking for sex. They're looking for all sorts of things that will amuse them or interest them. The facts, as you said earlier, are pretty boring to most people. They don't want to read a treatise about how many billions of animals are factory farmed that go in the trucks who end up having their throats slit. I mean, who wants to listen to that? So when you do something like, as you mentioned, I pulled a horse carriage through the streets of Mumbai where it's extremely hot. It was a grueling afternoon in the boiling sun. And people came out to take a picture of that. It was so extraordinary to have this woman doing that, to draw attention to the fact that that's what horses do there every day. And so I was able to draw attention to their plight by putting myself in that position. And as a result, there is now a court case to get those horses off the streets. And people are rallying to do so. And it's the same when it was bitter cold. It was absolutely freezing. My teeth were chattering. And a friend and I lay out in Times Square in a coffin and with a sign that said, animals don't give up their coats voluntarily. They have to be killed for their coats. I'd rather be dead than wear fur.
Very, very vivid. I mean, you absolutely go the full length for your cause. Following years of pressure from PETA, Ringling Brothers announced that it will phase out its elephant acts by the year 2018. This will spare elephants constant chaining in boxcars and backstage beatings in arenas across the country. And I don't know other than what you have done to help bring that to light, I'm not sure that people who went to circuses and have gone to circuses for all the decades were really thinking about those elephants in the same way.
It has changed. You can see the noticeable difference, the drop in attendance. And I don't think you can attribute it all to the fact people have video games and all sorts of things in other ways to amuse themselves, because we've basically been outside every Ringling show for years now with video that's very compelling, showing the elephants being beaten with the bullhook. And we show people the bullhook. We let them handle a bullhook, which is a very heavy stick with a metal hook on the end, like a fireplace poker. And people are horrified. And we say to them, if you are going into the circus show, please make it your last. We'd rather you turned around and went back, and people do. But watch, and you will see the use of the bullhook. And when they come out, they say, it is my last show. I had no idea. Thank you for focusing me on that. And so, yes, I think attendance is way down because of public interest now and public understanding now that these elephants are not volunteers. They've been taken from Thailand and India, and they've been separated from their mothers. The training methods are horrific. They don't stand on their heads for a peanut. They stand because they're afraid of the consequences they know will befall them if they don't.
I'm speaking with Ingrid Newkirk. She is the founder of PETA. And because of her work and PETA's work, 70 top brands and retailers, including Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, are banning Angora wool permanently. Ingrid, tell us why.
Well, what we did is we had investigators in Asia. They went to these Angora rabbit farms in China, because if you go to a store here, if you can find Angora anymore, because we've pretty much killed the market, you will buy something oblivious to the fact that the rabbits from whom it came were raised on factory farms in China. And we filmed what happens. The rabbits are tied down by all four legs and stretched out. And then a man or a woman goes up to the rabbit and just pulls the hair right out of their body. The video footage we took is horrific. Most people can't watch it because the rabbits scream, and they honestly sound like kids. And once they are naked, they've had all their fur pulled out, they're thrown, literally thrown, back into the cage, barren cage. And many of them are so withdrawn, they can't eat afterwards, they're traumatized and so on. We showed that video footage to about 80 retailers, major ones like H&M and so on. And one by one, they all said, all right, we will not use Angora wool anymore. And this huge company called Inditex, which you probably haven't heard of, but it owns many of the retailers you may know of, like Zara. They were so horrified, they allowed us to go back to China with their buyers and go to their farms and see what was happening. They immediately not only stopped selling Angora garments, but they had about $800,000 worth of Angora in stock. And what they did, they worked with us and they wrapped it all up. They didn't sell it. They were very, very ethical. And they sent it to Syria to refugee children who were coming in from all the strife in the Middle East. That was wonderful of them.
Wow. I mean, just like one of these victories seems like it would be amazing. And yet you and PETA have been connected to so many. Ingrid Newkirk is on an international tour right now called The Naked Truth, and literally in 42 minutes will be on the stage at McNamara Alumni Center at the University of Minnesota campus to, I'm sure, what will be quite a lively crowd. What can people expect? Give us a little preview of your talk, Ingrid.
Well, one of the things I will do, of course, is walk people through what it means to be the kind of person you want to be, the kind of person you would like to tell your children you are, and the kind of person you would like people to remember you as having been. And usually, for most people, unless you're Attila the Hun or Michael Vick, that might be a kind person who never hurt animals. And I will show people how intelligent animals are. I have wonderful little video clips of how clever they are, how protective they are of their own children. The dairy cow who is grieving when her child is taken away to be put on the milk line or to be used for veal. I will show them mother hens, how protective they are, all sorts of things. And then fun things that animals do sometimes when they think you're not looking or when they think other animals aren't looking. They're just so like us. They feel pain and joy and love, and they grieve and they value their little lives, and they don't want to be hurt. So I will show all those things, and then I'll suggest to people how we can know more about the amazing abilities of animals, and we can respect them more in our daily lives by just looking out for what we eat, what we wear, the clothing we buy, the products that we buy, all those kinds of things that are things you may not even think have an impact on animals, and yet they do. You can choose with every purchase to help animals or to harm them. And I will show some footage of how animals are harmed. And I always ask people, please don't walk out, just look down if you can't bear it. But an informed consumer is what we need, because if you're not informed, then your money will be going to other people about animals because they know you'll buy the product. So that's a basic, easy wrap-up.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it will be incredible. You know, I am a dog lover myself. Our 70-pound half pit bull Shorty gets a lot of airtime. I love talking about him. I think people love their pets, but we don't always think about those chickens or those rabbits or animals out there that aren't really the home pets, right?
Yes, and you know, there was a time when I didn't either. I think it's natural because we grow up with dogs and cats and horses and so on. And our sphere of compassion is relatively small when we start thinking about it. But we do have endless compassion, and the more we know, the more we think, wait a minute. I've been in slaughterhouses for chickens, for horses, for cows, and for dogs. We recently did an expose in a Chinese slaughterhouse where the dogs are killed not for meat, but for leather. And their skin is made into leather gloves and leather knickknacks. Things like the trim around a coat that might be leather, or even, and this is quite horrific to think of, a dog toy that comes from China. And before that, I had been in Taiwan many years ago and had been through a slaughterhouse where dogs are killed for meat. And they're strung up and their throats are slit. It is the same. When you go to a slaughterhouse for chickens or for cows or for horses, none of them wishes to die, and they can smell it. They hear it, they smell it. They're often kicked down the ramp to their death. They are petrified. Their eyes are big as saucers. They often turn around, or if they're chickens who are hanging upside down on this conveyor belt that goes towards the knife, you will see them flapping their wings and trying to turn around to escape. I mean, they are probably thinking, this can't be happening to me,
right,
the way I would be thinking.
Wow, exactly. Well, such a legacy you've already created, and I know your work goes on, and I need to let you go so you can get on that stage. She is speaking as part of her Naked Truth International Tour in Minneapolis at McNamara Alumni Center at 2 o'clock. Thanks for spending part of this hour with us, Ingrid Newkirk. I mean, just the diligence and the capacity you have to really open all of our eyes to a lot of challenging things. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. If people can go to PETA.org, there are a million things they can do to help.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. PETA.org. You can find out more. Good luck on stage today, Ingrid. And